Welcome to our second video this month on physical wellness. This video is from an external focus. And there's nothing more externally focused than actually taking a drive to our Denver Vibra Hospital, where I got a chance to meet with a couple of people who talked me through not only some of the amazing work they accomplish here in the Denver area at the hospital, but also their take on physical wellness and what it takes to really not only help maybe a rehab patient through a new degree of physical wellness, but some tips on what you can do if you are looking to enhance and improve your own physical wellness. First person I got to speak to when I arrived at the hospital was Lamar McBride, the CEO of Vibra Hospital. And we had a great conversation. And the first question I asked Lamar was, how do you help patients here at Vibra Hospital?
In this setting, we see people at their worst. New employee orientation, I always reiterate to new employees that this isn't Starbucks, this isn't King Soopers. People didn't just choose to come to a critical care hospital for rehabilitation services. Something unanticipated happened and they need us. So along that same line of thought, with the whole process to get people back to better, it is those incremental positive step forward physically, so that mentally they continue to see that, yeah, I can see life outside the walls of this institution or this hospital. I can see myself returning, back to normal. So it is definitely something that's hardwired into all of our employees, specifically in the therapy department, because they are the most in contact one-on-one for the longest time with patients.
So the next question I asked Lamar was, how do you leverage the mindset of physical wellness each day with your patients?
It is celebrating the successes, no matter how minuscule or small. We as a team have to celebrate those. And then we also have to remind the patients and their families to celebrate those so that they get that stimulus, they get that dopamine release that, hey, I'm doing something that is going to help me get back to some semblance of normalcy.
So Lamar, you're obviously a healthy guy. How difficult is it to maintain your level of physical wellness?
Great question, and I get asked that a lot. I keep it simple. Sometimes instead of sending an email, I will deliberately get up and walk to the director or the campus leader I need to have that interaction with instead of sending an email. I think many feel that if you are healthy or health conscious, that you live this really regimented life, and nothing could be further from the truth. I think if people are interested in starting some sort of life shift with regards to their wellness, their health and fitness, start small. Be more active than what you are now.
So Lamar really set the tone for physical wellness inside the hospital, both how they deal with patients and how he manages his own physical wellness. Up next, I got to speak with Cassi Lando, a certified occupational therapist assistant, and she got to take me through how she manages physical wellness for both patients and herself. She also has some great advice for how you can too.
So on a daily basis, my goal is to always get people more independent with the activities that they need to do every day. And so what we kind of look at first is, how are people doing these activities and what sort of things are they having trouble with? Is it a strength issue? Is it a coordination issue? Is it a balance issue? And then we can kind of come down to the gym and really work on that specific thing that they're struggling with, in order for them to then be successful with the activity that they need to do.
Yeah, and I know you're going to show me some things based on if I had some type of an injury or a physical challenge. But we're talking about physical wellness this month. How important is it, like when you see someone who is overcoming some type of a trauma or situation, how vital is their physical wellness? Like when they can achieve something, does it really change mood? Does it affect them in other ways?
Oh, absolutely. Of course, people get very frustrated when they're not able to accomplish something or be able to do something right away. And so it's really important for wellness and for health to kind of be a consistent thing in someone's life. And so that it's kind of always this constant, challenge, and then sort of overcoming that. And that sort of, can be with someone who does have an injury or someone who doesn't.
Yeah, it probably feels really good though when you can get somebody achieving something that they didn't physically think they were going to be able to do for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The look on people's faces when they take, the first step that they've taken in, weeks, or the first time that they're actually able to go to the toilet by themselves is a
Right.
really big deal.
Okay, so take me through, what is my situation? So we're gonna pretend like I am dealing with an issue. What issue do I have?
Yeah, so we're going to kind of pretend here that you have a stroke.
Okay.
And we'll say that, the stroke was on your left side, which means that you're going to be right side affected. Usually, when we first get someone who's newly had a stroke, they're extremely weak and they're not even able to lift an arm yet. And so we kind of work with, kind of these exercises where you start to assist one arm with the other arm. So what you would kind of do is you'd put the weaker hand on the cloth first,
Okay.
and then put the stronger hand over, and you can kind of push with the stronger hand and try to use the muscle with the weaker arm too to kind of get that movement, going
So
and get it
you're leveraging the
started.
stronger hand. So if I do it,
Yeah, go ahead.
You're leveraging the stronger. So if this was just kind of, I'll just let this hand just sort of sit there.
Yep.
And then you're using this, and you're kind of trying to motivate those
Yep.
sort of together.
To get those
How
muscles
long
going.
does it take if I'm dealing with that issue? How long does it normally take? Can it vary, or does?
Oh my gosh, it's extremely variable. Everyone's stroke is completely different. You're
Yeah.
never going to see a stroke patient that's even somewhat alike. And that kind of makes it more interesting, but it also makes it more challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, so then once you get a little bit stronger and you actually are able to pick up that arm a little bit more, then we can kind of work on more reaching activities. We're using cones as an example right now, but this could also work, if you're brushing your teeth, reaching for your toothpaste, reaching for soap, things like that. So, we can kind of set the cones a little bit around so we're reaching, in different directions and different distances, and
Gotcha.
really trying to, get
So
across,
going
get
here,
forward.
then kind of eventually working my way up to here. Are
Yep.
they stacking as well, or is it strictly
You
just?
could do stacking, you could do moving,
Totally.
kind of just that basic reaching thing, because with everything that you need to do on a daily basis, you're moving your arm and reaching without even noticing
Right.
you're doing it.
It's interesting too. So we
So-
talk a lot in physical wellness about how you kind of have to start small, right? So if I decide I want to work out, or I decide I want to go to a whole new level of my fitness, I can't do it all at once. I have to start small. It's the same thing here. It's the same philosophy, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You kind of have to meet yourself where you're at and then each day build. And I think it's really important too when you're kind of starting on a journey like that and we remind our patients this all the time, you have to compare yourself to where you were yesterday, not to how you were, before your injury, or in a case of someone who didn't have an injury, you can't compare yourself to someone who's been working out for 10, 20 years. It just doesn't work that way.
So I'm hiding behind this big machine. What do we have now?
So this is an arm bike. This is going to be able to give you some resistance while having also the other arm help. This is kind of the next step in rehabilitation. Once you can kind of move that hand, then you want to work on some strength. Yep, kind of
Like a
like you
bike,
would a
right?
bike. Yep, just with your arms.
How long will you take somebody through this?
So it really depends on how long they can really tolerate it. Some people, we get them on here and they're so weak that they can only do this for about 30 minutes and then they're done. They're completely
That's it,
pooped out.
And it's
Yep.
working everything. I could feel that just in shoulders.
Oh yeah, and the nice thing about the rotation is it's working all of those shoulder muscles kind of at once.
I think I need this at home.
Right? It is a pretty cool tool, I'm
It's
not gonna
actually
lie.
pretty, yeah. So what muscle groups am I working? I'm working my shoulder. I can feel that.
Yep, yeah, you're working your pecs, you're working your
arms are
traps
working.
in your back, you're working your deltoids, you're working your biceps because you're bending your elbow, you're working the triceps behind as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you're working the all of the rotator cuff too because you're kind of doing that rotational movement.
I feel like a friend of mine who had a rotator cuff surgery was using one of these afterwards in part of his rehab.
Oh yeah, you see these in pretty much every rehab setting. There's so many different uses for them, and they're an excellent tool.
Sorry, it's super fun. I could do this kind of all day. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
That's really awesome. Okay, so that's great. I mean, and so you start small again and kind of work up with people.
Absolutely.
Okay, so again, if you had advice for someone starting out, whether it's nutrition or fitness or anything like that, in the physical wellness category, what would what would be like maybe the best advice for someone in that situation?
Where you should definitely start small and kind of build up. And I think it's also really important to start with something that you enjoy. And we kind of work it with that in therapy too. Something that someone wants to do, they're going to be more motivated to do it. So if you enjoy being outside, just going on a hike, starting with that. If you love dancing, maybe taking a dancing class. If you enjoy lifting weights, maybe starting a gym membership and just lifting weights once or twice a week, and see how that goes.
Do you ever have days, and I'm sure you do, where it is frustrating, where it isn't going the way you want?
Oh,
How do
absolutely.
you personally sort of overcome that? I'm just curious if you have like if you vision it differently, or if you see it as more of a long term. I just wonder how your mind wraps around that, so you just don't become so frustrated.
I think a lot of times it's just a learning experience. Sometimes, you try something with someone and it is a huge flop and it doesn't work out well and they end up being completely frustrated or in more pain afterwards. So I think that it's really important to kind of look at ways that you can improve. Like, well, maybe next time I think it might be a little bit better to do this, and then think of that. Okay, we'll try that next time, and then sort of think of it as done, and not kind of continue taking that home and that worry with you. Just know that whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. A lot of things take a lot of work and a lot of time. However, start small, get started, and if you keep on working at it, you will get there. If you're motivated enough, you will get there.
So as I was leaving the facility, a lot of what was said to me today by both Cassi and Lamar really set in. And I think these are valuable lessons for all of us to reflect on as we are taking our journey towards more physical wellness. For example, starting small and really working on small goals that are achievable, that can really help you stay motivated. Next, really just pushing through any frustration you feel or any setbacks you feel to continue motivating yourself on the right path to your physical wellness, and really celebrating each achievement in your journey. No matter how small, it's important to celebrate those little wins as they compound and build into larger successes. And then finally, just staying positive, staying excited about your own physical wellness. Okay, don't forget to listen to our podcast this month and my full interview with Lamar talking about his own fitness journey. We'll see you next month.